Xbox On. Welcome to Xbox On, the podcast with one host about one console, the Xbox One. I am said host, Jesse DeRosa, and on today's episode, we'll be talking about the latest Xbox news for the week of April 23rd, 2020, including a new Xbox Series X trademark has been discovered, a new Cyberpunk 2077 Xbox One X is on the way, the next Far Cry game may be seeing the return of a beloved antagonist, and more. Episode 46, baby. I always told myself if this podcast makes it to 46 episodes, that's when I know I'll be legit. 45 is yeah. So, a little update on last week, my gamer score conundrum that I was going over with the whole uneven gamer score. Just to clarify, I know the difference between an odd and an even number. I understand, 1, 3, 5, 7, these are odd numbers. 2, 4, 6, these are even numbers. I'm a middle school dropout, but I at least got through that much math. So, but let me elaborate. Just for those who don't understand, odd gamer score is considered anything that can fuck up your gamer score from its standard and ending number of a 5 or a 0. So basically, if your gamer score ends in a 1 or a 2 or a 3 or a 4 or a 6, 7, 8, 9, that is odd gamer score, regardless of the numbers 2, 4, 6, and 8. An even gamer score would just be gamer score ending in a 5 or a 0. I think pretty much anyone listening to this podcast gets the concept. You've played enough Xbox to know your gamer score should end in a 5 or a 0 or something's up. But nonetheless, I fixed it. I fixed my gamer score. It took a little longer than it should, to be honest, but like I said I was going to do, I tried Dead Island Remastered, or whatever it's called, Definitive Edition, on Xbox One. It's on Game Pass, so I just downloaded that sucker, and I stupidly was trying to get the achievement for complete all of Act 1, which is where 24 gamer score, or something like that, and it would have put me just at, that with my one odd gamer score number would have put me at like 25, so my gamer score would have been even. And then after about like an hour of like, I don't want to play this game sucks, I hate Dead Island, I was like, oh shit, look at this, there are 2 easier achievements I could probably knock out in like 20 minutes, and they're each worth 12 gamer score, which equals 24, which is what I'm going for. 4 additional gamer score to even me out, to get my gamer score number ending in 1 to go to a 5 or 0. So now you understand the odd and even gamer score concept. But I knocked it out after wasting an hour of my life playing Dead Island. I figured out I got this one achievement where you just get in a vehicle and run over 50 zombies. So I did that. I just drove around and killed 50 zombies. And then I got this other one, which is basically just at the very beginning, the first thing you do in the game is you walk outside this room, you go down a hallway, and then you open this door, and there's like a weird one of those like quick timing event things to open a door. If you hit it just right, if you nail the way you open the door, you get an achievement worth 12 gamer score, because Dead Island's an awful game with stupid achievements. And I got that one. It took me a couple tries, and then boom, I was done. My gamer score is fixed. First thing I did was I went, woo, that's off my plate, and I deleted Dead Island off my console, and that's gone. But yeah, I just wanted to relay that happy news that my gamer score, hey, I know we're all worried about this COVID-19. People are losing their jobs. People are getting sick. People are hurting out there. The world's a weird place. Things are weirder than they've ever been before. But hey, my gamer score is fixed. So there's that. All right, and then we'll jump into some of our comments, shoutouts from our previous episode from last week. First one comes from Mr. David White, who says, looks at my wall of press start trophies, sweats profusely. Well, that's right. Damn right, David. You better not be one of those fuckers who just buys Xbox games for the press start 5 gamer score achievements and then just dips and waits for the next game, because those people are real turds. Our next comment here comes from Josiah DeRosa, my brother, who says, in regards to our Halo Infinite story last week, he says, the Banished Hunter is the most bittersweet news in history. I'm so much more excited for their return than the Covenant or the Prometheans, but Halo Wars 3, sad crying emoji times 5. Sorry to break it to you, but there's just no chance in hell we're getting a Halo Wars 3. It's a miracle by God that there was ever even a Halo Wars 2, but Halo Wars 2 sold very poorly, and there's no chance in hell of a Halo Wars 3, which is a crying shame, because Halo Wars 2 is an excellent game that was criminally underrated and underplayed, but so is the case with a lot of Xbox games, especially these days. So yeah, But the next comment here comes from Lethal Migraine in response to my shocking news that I'm playing a Japanese game by the name of Yakuza. He says, I started Yakuza on PS4, but the controller is disgusting. Referring to the PS4 controller. I'm really happy some of the Yakuza games are coming to Xbox. I agree with you, or I seem with you, or I agree with you. The game is fun and quite charming. Yakuza is a good time. I'm surprised anyone in this audience knew that those games existed or had played them before, so that's cool to hear from you on that, Lethal Migraine. I'm glad you enjoy those games, and now you can use a beautiful, not disgusting Xbox controller. I don't personally think the PS4 controller is disgusting, but I definitely think it is significantly less adequate than the Xbox controller. Although I will say the PS4 controller is by far the best PlayStation controller so far. Not that obviously I haven't used a DualSense, the PlayStation 5 controller, but I thought the PS4 controller was a big step up from especially the PS3, the DualShock 3 controller, which was quite honestly ass. The DualShock 3 was, by the time we got to the PS3, that form factor was so dated, but this is besides the point. This is not a PlayStation podcast. Just putting that out there. But I do like the PS4 controller, just not as much as the Xbox One controller. Anyway, next comment, Dead Captain James comes in. He goes, hey, I've been gaming on this Xbox profile since 2008, and I only have 70,000 gamer score. Multiplayer games have killed my gamer score during the 360 generation. I used to only play multiplayer and never played single-player games. I agree with this 100,000%. I can relate to this 100,000%. It's like when Xbox 360 first came out, it was like, what is this achievement thing? Oh my God, this is fun. This is addictive. And we did it. And we got a bunch of gamer score. And then we kind of settled in midway through the generation. It was just like, I'm going to go home and play Halo 3, Left 4 Dead, and Call of Duty World at War Nazi Zombies every night for the foreseeable future and never get any more gamer score because I just keep playing the same games over and over and over again. So I get that. So it's, a lot of people probably got turned off from Gamerscore around that time when they realized, if you're the kind of person who plays a few multiplayer games as opposed to a bunch of single player games or, things like that, then you might the meta game of Gamerscore might start to kind of lose its luster, so to speak. But, for all of those that lost time in the 360 days playing multiplayer games, not getting Gamerscore, I feel like now we have the time to make up for all that lost time because you can just download a bunch of fucking games off Game Pass and get easy gamer score left and right. I mean, in the time since Game Pass has been out, in the 2 years since we've had Game Pass, I'm pretty sure my gamer score has shot up 15, 20,000 points just because it's so easy to just download and try all these new games and get easy gamer score from all that. So in the long run, it might kind of even itself out, but that is a good point that multiplayer gaming can kind of really fuck with gamer score. So I like to use that as an excuse for why I don't have more. And then keeping with Dead Captain James, we're not done with you yet. He says, my next door neighbors are casual gamers. They play on Xbox and have never heard of Game Pass until I told them about it. Casuals only seem to know about the massive AAA games. This is an interesting point because, for the longest time I kept saying, I feel like Game Pass isn't marketed well enough and not enough people know about it. But then sometime around the release of Gears 5 last year, I feel like Xbox really did start to push appropriately to kind of get the message of Game Pass out there. And I feel like the industry started kind of taking it seriously. There's just this random tipping point last year, it feels like, where game sites and YouTubers and just people in the games industry finally kind of started going, you know what? I guess Game Pass is kind of a legitimate thing. It really is a good service. It can't be ignored, and so I feel like it has a lot more name to it now than it did, a year ago. But I do agree with you. If I go to work, if I'm talking to my coworkers who are talking about how PS4 is better than Xbox One because GTA is on PS4, if I talk to those kinds of people and I say, what do you think about Game Pass? They're probably gonna be like, what's Game Pass? And I'm gonna say it's like a Pornhub subscription for your Xbox. It gets you all the naked pictures of Master Chief, and then they'll be like, oh, I've never heard of that. PlayStation's better because it has PS Now and you can play PlayStation 3 games streamed and have laggy Uncharted 1. But yeah, I mean, this is definitely an optical hurdle for Microsoft, or not an optical hurdle. This is definitely a hurdle in general for Xbox as a brand because Game Pass is the bread and butter in their future because that's the way they anticipate people playing their games for the most part. So it's really important that they get the wording out there and they get people to subscribe to the service. And I think we're going to see that come in time, especially as, Game Pass becomes more of a thing on PC and mobile devices. And once, I think the big thing is the Series X. Once you have your next generation console, the thing is people kind of hit the refresh button on what a platform is. If maybe you're an Xbox gamer and you don't know everything about what PlayStation has to offer, but when the next PlayStation console comes out, you're going to be so intrigued by the idea of a next generation console, you kind of hit the refresh page on what is PlayStation doing on their platform. What is Microsoft? So if you're not an Xbox gamer completely in the know about what all Xbox has to offer, the inherent intrigue of the Xbox Series X is going to force a lot of people, both casual and hardcore gamers, to say, what is Xbox doing? What does their next console look like? What all does that entail? And I think with Game Pass being a huge part of that message, it will be a good opportunity for a lot of people who don't already know about Game Pass to become acquainted with it. So I think the next console is a really crucial moment for getting Game Pass into the heads and the hands of many gamers to come. But I do agree that there does seem to be an issue where Xbox gamers are all over Game Pass. They think it's great. They all have it. Whatever. They're living in their little bubble. But really, outside of the games community, specifically the Xbox community, I've never heard someone talk about Game Pass. I've never heard someone like Kanye West has never gotten up on stage and interrupt someone accepting a reward to be like, hey, I'm going to let you finish, but first I got to tell you about Xbox Game Pass. So that is a hurdle for Microsoft. And then our last comment comes from Lethal Migraine, who says, it'd be cool if Xbox bought Crytek. Rise was a beautiful looking game, just needed some more dev time. Lethal Migraine, I'm going to have to disagree with you on that one, just because as much as I want to knee-jerk say, oh yeah, go ahead, buy Crytek, I don't know about Crytek. That's a developer I'm like, I never played Crysis, to be fair, so I'm going to try with this new remaster, but I feel like their games are all visual appeal and not much substance. I didn't really care for old school Far Cry. I prefer Ubisoft's Far Cry 3, 4, 5. And then Rise, I played half of it and thought, wow, this is a really boring game. It's the only Xbox One exclusive I have no intention of playing all the way through. I don't know. Microsoft's portfolio isn't lacking in the... I don't know. Maybe it is. I think the kinds of games Crytek makes could be good for Xbox, but at the same time, I feel like they just lack this kind of sheer not polish, but this kind of charm that make it so distinctively, something that represents a console. I don't know. To me, it's Crytek's games feel very third party. Something about when Rise came out on the Xbox One as a launch title, it didn't feel like an exclusive game. It didn't feel like, I mean, I know it's a second party game. I know it was a console exclusive, but it felt very multi-platform to me, if that makes sense. Whereas Titanfall, when that came to Xbox One, that felt like the true first exclusive to the Xbox One. I don't know. I'm just saying shit, but for whatever reason, I'm just not a big Crytek fan. I personally don't like the idea of them in the Xbox family, but who gives a shit what I think? If you guys like Crytek, let's go make a change.org petition and get Microsoft to go buy Crytek because who cares what I think. And then that's going to do it for our comment shout-out. Sorry that took longer than earlier. We'll jump into what I've been playing, and then we'll jump into what you're all here for, that sexy, spanky, and salty news. But first, before I can tell you what I've been playing, I've got to tell you what I've been eating. So yeah, this is the week where I finally started to cave in, This is the week where I was like, my job is all about making me go out and interact with people and get coronavirus. I really don't have a choice. It's either get paid or get sick. So I'm out here, I'm touching people, I'm doing germs, I'm doing what I gotta do to survive, but I'm basically giving up on I still try to stay home as much as possible, when I'm not at work, but I said, fuck it. I miss food too much. I miss good food. I'm going to Chili's, I'm going to TGI's, and I've been using some rewards points and some coupons I've had saved up to order a little bit of Chili's and TGI Fridays to go here and there. And I got to be honest with you guys. I know I've always been a TGI man through and through, but Chili's is really on their game when it comes to their to-go. They the way they make mobile ordering and online ordering and curbside pickup work, it's just so fluent. It's so modern. It works so easily. Their app is so up to date. It's so intuitive. But TGI Fridays, with all due respect, the app's a little lackluster. It's always signing you out. It's kind of shitty. It's kind of dated. It's definitely not optimized for modern mobile devices. And honestly, their to-go method is just kind of shitty. If I want to redeem my reward saved in my account, I got to call the store and order over the phone. I don't want to talk to a human. The whole reason I want to order on my app is so I don't have to engage with another human being. But no, if I want to use my rewards from TGI Fridays, I got to call the store. I got to read them the barcode number of my rewards, and I got to pay over the phone by reading them my credit card. It's just guys, this is not 2007 anymore, okay? This is not how shit's done. We're gonna order to go, but we're gonna order to go like civilized people, where I hit a bunch of buttons and then do Google Pay, and then I never see the person on the other side until I pick up my food, and then I just peel out of the driveway with, you know, all my trans fats in tow. But that's just not how TGI does things. Now, no offense to their food, TGI's food is to die for. It's the king. But also, I was pretty impressed. You know, it's been a long time since I've had Chili's, and I was pretty impressed with the Chili's menu, with just judging by their to-go food. But you know, they still both have a place in my heart. I just gotta say, Chili's been climbing up the ranks a little bit, mostly in part to its A game when it comes to go. So TGI, get to work. You got some catching up to do. Now, what I've been playing, the less interesting thing. I finished Yakuza 0. It's a 30-plus hour game. It's a 30-hour game, roughly. I don't know how I beat it in like 8 or 9 days. This is the most like enthralled in a... I know I was speaking very highly of Red Dead Redemption 2, but Red Dead Redemption 2 was a game I knew I wanted to play. Whether or not I was going to love it or hate it, it was a game I knew I wanted to play. Yakuza is the first example in a long time of a game where I've been like, let's give it a try, fully expecting to like give up on it 2 or 3 hours into it, but actually ended up loving to death and like being so engrossed by that I couldn't put the controller down. I plowed through Yakuza, and it was fantastic. I loved every second of it. Great story. It's got some tear jerk moments. It's got some weird Japanese quirky comedic moments. It's a really cool story. It's really unique. The gameplay is really unique. Just everything about that game is a very stellar, individual, just nothing like it kind of experience. And actually this week, Yakuza Kiwami, the remake of the first game, just came to Game Pass this week. So it looks like I'll be jumping into that in the near future. Kind of perfect timing, honestly. But if you've never tried the Yakuza games, it might be something worth looking into. Is a very non-traditional kind of game for the Xbox market, which I think is a perfect reason to try it out. You know, Phil Spencer's being very aggressive about getting Japanese games on this platform. Phantasy Star Online 2 just came out. We got Yakuza 0. Go get outside of your comfort zone. Put down your Call of Duty and your Mountain Dew, you goddamn Xbox gamer, you Xbot, and go give our friends from the East a try. You know, go try some of that raw fish they call Yakuza 0. And that's what I've been playing this week. Now we're going to finally jump into the news, now that I've made you endure 20 minutes of me literally saying nothing. Our first story this week, it comes from Windows Central, and it is that Microsoft has trademarked a new logo for the Xbox Series X that has begun surfacing over the internet. Found by some people on the Xbox Series X subreddit, the official trademark listing was filed last week on April 16th, and features a vertical lettering alongside the familiar X symbol we saw debut with the Xbox One packaging, or Xbox One X packaging. The trademark covers applications ranging from almost everything you can think of: software, hardware, electronics, lighting, watches, keychains, kites, plushes, consoles, games, shirts, shoes, school bags, gloves, whatever. It's worth a guess that this logo could appear on the retail package for the Series X, which could be a little more different than usual given its interesting form factor. It probably won't be long until the Xbox Series S trademark begins to surface as well. So I don't know if you guys saw this. It's basically like a giant X, but the left side of the X, the slash on the left, is like a solid line, and then the one on the right is kind of like the top and bottom part with the middle part kind of being missing, and then to the left of that, all within the same frame, it says Series along the left-hand side, kind of standing vertically. I don't know if that's a good way to describe it. I don't really know how to describe graphic art to you at all, but I can't really recall where we saw this before. It says somewhere with the Xbox One X we saw this at one point. I don't remember that, but I gotta be honest, this logo doesn't really fit the current aesthetic of Xbox, in my opinion, or any of Microsoft's current design aesthetic that they've been doing with Windows 10 at all. It's just a very just a thing of its own, and that's fine. I don't think the logo looks bad. I think it looks a little, I don't know, it doesn't look very distinctively Xbox, and it doesn't look very exciting, but it does look kind of cool and premium, I guess. I don't know. I'm not really one to get bogged down in things like this, like logos. I mean, I do appreciate nice design aesthetic, and I've always been a fan of the Xbox branding and logos, but I don't know. This is one of those things where I had to see really exactly in what context they plan on implementing this, and because I'm not really fully understanding of this. We got the Xbox Series X reveal, and it seemed like they were keeping in line with the exact same aesthetic that the Xbox One generation has had thus far. to the point where like the glowing Xbox button on the console and the controller is the exact same one we've seen on the Xbox One console. So I'm not really sure where this logo goes, if it's on commercials and like the box for the console. But I mean, who gives a shit, really? I mean, this is just one of those things. It's like when people were complaining about the name PlayStation 5, it's like, or the logo for PlayStation 5 being the same logo they always use. It's like, at the end of the day, you don't care about the logo. You care about, the games and the console. So, while it is cool when consoles have a good, aesthetic and logo and all that to accompany it, I don't really know what to make of this. I'm waiting until we see it kind of in marketing material to really get a feel for it. But nonetheless, it's always cool to just see a little bit of these little teases of more information regarding the next big console that we were going to spend, our 20s or 30s, however old you are, using religiously. So that's more on the Xbox Series X. I can't really be bothered with this again until I see it used in more of like a practical application. Like, let me see a t-shirt or a box or a commercial with this logo. But yeah, just seeing a picture of this logo from the patent is just like, okay. But yeah, our next story here is a Halo 1. So yay. Halo developer 343 Industries has officially begun its first PC test flight for Halo 2 Anniversary. Invites have been sent out to Halo insiders through email and through Halo Waypoint. The test flight includes single-player and co-op campaign, matchmaking, custom games theater, and customization options. A brand new challenge system has also been implemented to encourage players to complete certain objectives in exchange for experience rewards. Those looking for a chance to join the cause can join the Halo Insider program. Still, for a chance to get an invite, the game will eventually release both standalone and via the Master Chief Collection on Windows 10, Game Pass for PC, and Steam. You may have seen this. It kind of feels like old news. This broke right after last week's episode went up. But yeah, a bunch of people have been streaming this as of late. It looks like Halo 2 Anniversary is just about ready to go on the Master Chief Collection for PC. So it shouldn't be long until we see that launching. And if you want to get in on the test flight, you just got to sign up on Halo Waypoint. It will ask you for like what kind of PC specs do you have, and then you'll get an invite code. I assume it's not hard to get one, but yeah, if you want to check that out. But it seems like the Halo 2 Anniversary is imminent release-wise on PC. So I'm trying to think about this news. I mean, like this, it's in and of itself. It's like, oh, okay, we knew this was on the way. It's Halo 2, cool. But what's really interesting about this is like, what is their game plan for getting Halo on PC? Because now that I think of it, it's like, okay, so Halo Reach kind of had. Came out in December. We had that big little resurgence for a minute there where everyone pretended they cared about Halo again for a minute. It was nice. I felt alive for a moment there because people were talking about a gaming franchise that I really adore. In fact, the gaming franchise I love the most. And it was awesome. And then it was short-lived. And then people stopped talking about Halo. And then it seemed like, when was it? Was it 1 month later? Was it January or February? I think it was January that Halo 1 Anniversary came to PC. And I was like, oh, that was fast. And I was like, okay, they're really going to start knocking these things out. But now it's been, what, three months since Halo 1 came to PC, and now we're getting Halo 2 pretty soon here. So it's like, you assume they're trying to get the entire Master Chief Collection on PC before Halo Infinite comes out. Halo Infinite still has a tentative holiday 2020 release date. I think that means November. So let's just play with some rough dates here. If Halo Infinite's coming out in November 2020, and right now we're about to get Halo 2 on PC, that means we still got to get Halo 3 ODST, and Halo 4 all on PC, because all we have right now are 1, 2, and Reach. And so I'm trying to figure this out. If the game plan, I assume you do ODST last, I guess. I don't know. Like, do you do 3, then ODST, then 4, or do you do 3, 4, ODST? I think maybe you go ODST before 4 because people arbitrarily just like Bungie Halo and hate 343 Halo because it's the cool opinion to have. So maybe you just try to satiate that PC audience by giving them all the ones they're told they like before you give them, 4, which is just as good as any other Halo. So I don't really know what order you do this in, but I don't know that there's enough time left between, we're almost in May here, between May and November to get all these games out. So if you take that trajectory they're currently on, about, 2 to 3 months a game, it's like, all right, you probably get like Halo 3 gets Halo 3 on PC maybe in, let's say, late June, and then you get ODST in like September, and then you get 4 in like, I don't know, because basically the way it would line up is like if you try to get all of those games in, by the time you get to the last one, it's like around the same time Halo Infinite is launching, and you want to probably have all that stuff out of the way so you can just focus on Halo Infinite. So I don't know. Maybe I'm overthinking this, but you would think they want to have all that Halo shit on PC before they get to Halo Infinite. That being said, it's completely leaving out Halo 5, of course, which just seemingly is never coming to PC. I'm of the mindset that Halo 5 is coming to Master Chief Collection for console and PC, but that's like in a year or two. That's well after, we're waiting till after Halo Infinite's happened and kind of all the excitement over that has settled, because I think even though Halo 5 is objectively just one of the greatest games on the Xbox One, it's one of the best Halo games. People have been told it's really cool to hate on Halo 5. We gotta rag on it, even though 99% of us probably haven't even played it. So Halo 5 is kind of in this weird optic game where 343 knows they have a good game on their hands, but they also have to be careful with how they push it to people, because people don't like it. So if you can put yourself in a position where Halo Infinite comes out, people love Halo Infinite, maybe it has like a Breath of the Wild kind of resurgence for this franchise, and everyone thinks Halo's cool again, then everyone starts buying an Xbox and pretending that they never gave up on Halo and it was always their favorite, then that's a good story, because then you can just take Halo 5 and be like, quietly push it onto PC and be like, and Halo 5 is now available on Master Chief Collection. And then, you'll start to get like those Star Wars prequel revisionist historians who go, oh yeah, Halo 5 was always good. I remember I never hated it. I never made fun of the campaign. And then you can have one of those stories where it's like, cool, now people are kind of turning around on it. A lot of games have that where, the kind of revisionist history. Sometimes for better too, games like Sonic Unleashed, finally in the community at least, Sonic fans have turned around on Sonic Unleashed. They like it now, so that's a good thing. So maybe Halo 5, I think that might be a tinfoil hat approach, but I think it's possible 343 is waiting for that to happen. They're waiting for Halo Infinite to hopefully be a success, and then once that dies down, they can be like, cool, here's Halo 5 on PC. Remember, we love all Halo. Let's not trash this one. Just boom. Because it would be really awful if, at the end of the day, it's like you can play all Halo on PC. You can play all Halo on Master Chief Collection, just not 5. So they can't let that be the case. So I'm very obsessed with this release schedule for some stupid reason. But we'll move on, because this is not the Halo Master Chief Collection speculative podcast. This is a podcast about my feelings, and God damn it, we will continue to divulge them with our next story here, which reads, the March 2020 NPD numbers are in, and with them we have possibly the only positive unintended consequence of the coronavirus, aside from, of course, light traffic on my commute to and from work. It seems that the games industry is doing extraordinarily well right now, as total game sales went up for a whopping 35% over March 2019. Meanwhile, the video game hardware revenue was way up to 63% growth from March 2019, with the Nintendo Switch being the best-selling console for the month, to no one's surprise. The top 20 best-selling games for the month of March 2020 were in order: 1, Animal Crossing New Horizons, no shock there; 2, Call of Duty Modern Warfare; 3, MLB The Show; 4, Resident Evil 3; NBA 2K at the number 5 spot; Doom Eternal at 6; Persona 5 Royal at 7; Grand Theft Auto 5 at 8; Borderlands 3 at 9; Mario Kart 8 Deluxe at 10; Neo 2 at 11; Red Dead Redemption 2 at 12; FIFA 20 at 13; Super Smash Bros. Ultimate at 14; Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Rescue Team DX at number 15, Madden NFL 20 at 16, Just Dance 2020 at 17, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order at 18, Mortal Kombat 11 at 19, and Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 Remastered at 20, which of course is currently only available on PS4, still hasn't hit Xbox One quite yet. As for the best-selling Xbox One games, in order, the top 10 best-selling games on the Xbox One hardware were in order: 1, Call of Duty Modern Warfare; 2, Resident Evil 3; 3, Doom Eternal; 4, NBA 2K20; 5, Grand Theft Auto 5; 6, Madden NFL 20; 7, Red Dead Redemption 2; 8, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order; 9, FIFA 20; and 10, Minecraft Xbox One Edition. So the really important thing to note in all of this is that both Ori and the Will of the Wisps and Bleeding Edge are Xbox's most recent games that have only been out for a few weeks. neither of which were the best selling, hit the NPD charts for either Xbox One or games in general. So that is a big oopsie. Of course, it's very important to note that the NPD obviously doesn't account for the number of people playing these games. It's just for revenue generated for each game. And games like Ori and the Will of the Wisps and Bleeding Edge are most likely being played by more Xbox-centric gamers. And as we discussed at the top of the show, along with your question, Dead Captain James, the people playing these games are likely Xbox people, Xbox gamers, us hardcore badass Xbox people, the kind of people that put tattoos of X's on their wrists and their hands, but not because they're straight edge, but because they just fucking bleed direct X. So this is important to note that this is, again, indicative of the kind of situation we found ourselves in when we can't really tell how Xbox exclusives are doing. We saw this with Gears 5, where Gears 5 did chart on the NPD for the month of September 2019 when the game came out, but we didn't know, it was pretty low on the charts, and we didn't know if that was a good thing or a bad thing, because you got to assume, again, a bunch of people are playing these games via Game Pass. So are the games doing well? Are the games doing poorly? And this is hard because Xbox, just as a platform, just keeps becoming harder and harder to really gauge how they're doing, because as we all remember, back in, I think it was 2014, Microsoft, or I think it was in 2015, it was actually when Halo 5 came out, because they started bearing this number along with the sales of Halo 5, I remember. So it must have been October 2015. When Microsoft started basically saying, hey, we're getting pummeled by the PS4 so bad in sales, we're no longer going to release sales numbers for the Xbox One console. And they just started talking about like bullshit things like, this new game has already achieved blank amount of hours played, and it's already generated this much revenue. Like, it's just these generic bullshit numbers that really don't tell you a whole lot. Whereas, Sony and most other companies, even third parties, will come out there and be like, hey, our new game blank has sold X amount of copies. So Game Pass makes this even harder for Xbox fans to divulge, because now we're looking at games like Ori and the Will of the Wisps, and maybe Xbox comes out and says, oh yeah, Ori and the Will of the Wisps was a great success. It's been downloaded over 1 trillion times and has over 600 bajillion nuts dug up and achievements unlocked, and 2 billion times the pause button has been pressed during Act 3. It's just like kind of bullshit numbers. So it's like, okay, so we're not going to know how Ori and the Will of the Wisps is doing at all. But the important thing to take away from that is, if they're not going to come out and confidently say, boom, we've sold this many units or whatever, then all we need to know is, without that information, they're not happy with the numbers. That's how I'm forced to interpret this data, because that's what Xbox gives us. And now that's only going to be exacerbated by, the relationship first-party Xbox games have to releasing through Game Pass. Obviously, it's a good thing in the long run for us on Xbox that we just get all these games for free via Game Pass, but it also makes it a little more challenging because, there's no doubt Bleeding Edge totally didn't do that well. I'm completely confident that Bleeding Edge is not performing super well, and I have no idea whether to think that Microsoft expected that or not. Again, I politely disagree with you, Lethal Migraine, about the whole not rolling out the red carpet, so to speak, on Bleeding Edge. I think Microsoft should have put a little more effort into making it known that Bleeding Edge is a thing, even though they don't have to put, Gears of War, Halo money into marketing. I think they clearly didn't push it a little harder because they really don't see it being a big hit, and they are just kind of like, hey, if this game hits and finds an audience, good. If it doesn't, we weren't expecting too much anyway. As for Ori and the Will of the Wisps, that's a sequel to a game that is really beloved critically, and now this game is really beloved critically as well. People think the world of these games. These are, second-party exclusives on Xbox that have really helped kind of shape the diversity conversation with the Xbox to show that, Xbox can be more than just first-person shooters and racing games. And it's just a really stylish, awesome Metroidvania game that people seem to be really into. That's still really high on my list of, I'm sorry, I know I haven't played them yet. I'll get around to it. I have played the first few hours of the first Ori game. They are cool. They're stylish. It doesn't seem like people are going nuts for these games. It seems like, people who play them love them, and people who don't play them just go on and play one of the 500 bajillion other Metroidvania games that exist, because literally every other game that comes out is just a Metroidvania. So not to take any of the steam and prestige from Ori, the Ori franchise, but that's a problem it faces. It's hard to sell a non-Xbox gamer on the Ori franchise when they can just go play any other highly regarded Metroidvania on PlayStation, Switch, whatever, because they're a dime a dozen these days. So I'm not trying to speak ill of this franchise. I'm just trying to say these games didn't chart. We know nothing about them because everything's locked behind Game Pass and Microsoft's kind of vague announcement on how their games perform. But not even charting on the Xbox One NPD is a little concerning. So yeah, I don't know, rant over, but it just seems like the fact that neither of these games even charted on Xbox One is kind of telling. Think about it. They're getting, Ori and the Will of the Wisps and Bleeding Edge got beaten out by Minecraft, a game that's always on the NPD but is as old as dirt by this point. It got beat out by Red Dead Redemption 2, a game that's now almost 2 years old. It got beaten out by Grand Theft Auto 5, a game that's now like 7 years old or something like that. They got beaten out by, that's it. The other games make sense on there, Resident Evil, Doom Eternal, but it doesn't look good for your new games when you can't even get them to chart on just the platform alone. So I don't know what to make of that. But I mean, of course, Game Pass probably plays the biggest role in this data, which we can't really dig into without more information. Our next story here, without me ranting hopefully too much, is that Microsoft have revealed a new Cyberpunk 2077 limited edition Xbox One X that is set to be released in June. Microsoft has teased the console as, quote, the final Xbox One X limited edition console to ever be released, end quote. While no price has been given, it is safe to assume that the limited edition console will probably include a digital download code for the game, which of course won't be out for another 3 months once this console hits the market, and presumably a 1 terabyte hard drive. That stuff seems to be pretty standard for these kinds of bundles, so a download copy of the game and a 1 terabyte hard drive, that's what I'm expecting. I don't know, maybe you'll get the rare 2 terabyte hard drive limited edition, or maybe it'll be one of those weird consoles where it doesn't even, one of those weird collector's editions or deluxe editions where you don't even get a copy of the game, but I fully expect there'll be a copy of the game. But anyway, in addition to the console, the standalone Cyberpunk controller is being sold for $75 and can be purchased right now, although it seems to be selling out pretty fast, so probably not. Additionally, some other Cyberpunk accessories are coming soon, including the Cyberpunk 2077 Xbox Pro charging stand for $50, Seagate game drives for Xbox, Cyberpunk 2077 Special Edition, it's 2 terabytes at $90, 5 terabytes at $150, and an Arctix One wireless headset for Xbox Johnny Silverhand edition for $110. Johnny Silverhand, I don't know if is that the Keanu Reeves character? I don't know. People seem to be really into this thing, plus Microsoft has said that they're only manufacturing 45,000 of them. So go ahead and get this console while it's hot, while you have that stimulus check burning a hole in your wallet. So that's that. Not really too much to say on it. Just I mean, it looks cool. I've seen the pictures. It keeps popping up on. This is the Xbox news I've been seeing the most of lately for whatever reason. I know it's kind of a slow news week, but this is what people seem to be really into. So go ahead and look into that. The controller the console looks badass altogether, but the controller is really cool as well. I expect it all to be like sold out already. So sorry if you're just hearing this, you didn't know about it, and you got excited, and then you Googled it, and it was like all gone. Fuck you. But hey, now you know my pain back in 2014 when I really wanted that Titanfall controller for Xbox, and it sold out super fast, and I never got one. And that's just the plight of me, the Xbox gamer. All right, our next one here is that after a couple of tweets last week that teased an imminent announcement, Crytek have revealed that Crysis Remastered is officially on the way, bringing with it high-quality textures, API-agnostic ray tracing for PC, PlayStation, Xbox, and for the first time, Nintendo Switch. The remaster is being co-developed by now THQ Nordic-owned Saber Interactive, and the release date is currently unknown, but the trailer does say coming soon, so we must take their word for it for the time being. Crysis Remastered is happening. This is what I was really expecting. I know a lot of people are hoping for a Crysis 4. I didn't want to, lay my stake in the ground quite yet last week, but I think this was pretty obvious that it was going to be a remake. Now, the fact that it's just a remaster of the first game and all three, it's like, meh. But I'm kind of not expecting too much. I think some people were really expecting, obviously Crysis was like a running joke forever on the internet that, someone mentioned something about PC and you go, can it run Crysis, because Crysis was such a powerful game that it was such a high fidelity game that you had to have a really nice PC to run it. Now they're talking about getting this thing on the Nintendo Switch. I don't really know that they're obviously it'll look better on Xbox and PlayStation and PC. The fact that they're going to put a Switch port out makes me think that they're probably not putting as much effort into making this like a from the ground up kind of remaster. This is going to be more of your traditional ported over and upres the textures, which is kind of what the listing describes. But if you never played Crysis, this is a good opportunity to play it, but I don't feel like this is anything super exciting. It seems more like Crytek just kind of being like, let's invigorate some interest in this brand because we're working on a 4th iteration, or, let's kind of hit a restart, because I know Crytek's a company that's been having some issues a little bit in the past few years, although their last game that they released a year or two ago seems to have done pretty well, so maybe that's not so much the case. But nonetheless, if you're a Crysis fan, look forward to playing it all over again on the Xbox. Don't play it on the Nintendo Switch. You'll be like Wolfenstein. It's one of those things where it's like, yeah, you got it on the Nintendo Switch, but at what cost? A friend of mine recently said, hey, I'm playing Mortal Kombat on the Switch. And I said, good for you. And then he said, now I'm playing Mortal Kombat on the Xbox because it doesn't look great on the Switch. And I said, gooder for you. And yeah, that's just how it works. Don't play the Switch unless you're... So yeah, there you go. Crysis is coming back, baby. Hopefully this is... I assume this is laying the groundwork for a Crysis 4. The interesting thing to note here, though, is that it's being self-published, I believe. I guess it's kind of what it alludes to, but the first 3 Crysis games were all published by EA Games. So the fact that EA, I don't know what... Not that I really know the details on who owned the property and what all the publishing agreement entailed, but I'm surprised that EA doesn't have the rights to the game, or maybe EA pulled an Activision, Bungie, Destiny kind of situation where they're just like, go ahead, have Crysis, we don't give a shit. So, but yeah, it's interesting to see that EA is not involved with this in any capacity, but nonetheless, maybe that's all for the better, because we know how much gamers hate EA. Remember, EA is bad, Halo 5 is bad, Souls games are good, Animal Crossing is so good. And then our next story here comes from True Achievements. Mojang has confirmed that Minecraft Dungeons will not feature online matchmaking due to the way the dungeon crawler is designed. According to the game's official FAQ page, online matchmaking for multiplayer will not be featured in Minecraft Dungeons. You can still play online with your friends, but playing with randoms isn't an option. The FAQ page reads, quote, Minecraft Dungeons is designed to be played together with your friends, either on the comfy couch or on a comfy online session, end quote. This means that there are no lobbies for players to jump into and start exploring together. This can be a little limiting for players who don't have friends interested in playing the game. Raise my hand. Mojang goes on to say that the difficulty, enemy count, and the loot scale are dependent on the number of players in a session, so if you're playing solo, you shouldn't be at a disadvantage. Crossplay is also coming at a later date. Minecraft Dungeons, of course, launches on May 26th and will be available through Game Pass onto Xbox One and onto Xbox PC. So this is I kind of smell bullshit on this one. It's like, what? The fact that, I don't know, I'm trying to think, does Diablo have matchmaking? I don't think that's a thing, but it's like, this is one of those things that doesn't bother me too much. I'm most likely just going to end up playing this game alone anyway, but you would expect that people would want matchmaking. I don't know. I don't know how much this is really going to upset people. This isn't like, the end of the world. I don't think it was expected that this game would have matchmaking, but yeah, you can play it with friends, you can play it with one player. Of course, as they allude to here, it's one of those games where the more players in the game, the more the difficulty will scale. It'll probably just add in more enemies, make them a little more challenging to kind of, make it not too easy for people with all the friends that play together. But yeah, if you were looking forward to playing some Minecraft Dungeons with some randos, it sucks to be you, because it's not going to be a possibility. Maybe you should make friends. Maybe you should go to the community page for Minecraft Dungeons and say, hey, looking for a group to play with. Just kidding, you can't matchmake. You got to add them to your friends. You got to add them. So that's a little disappointing. I guess this isn't really much of a big news story. It's just kind of a side note. I don't really know that anyone was looking forward to that specific feature on this game, but they have it. If you were planning on playing the game online, you got to get some friends together. Maybe go on Fiverr and pay someone to be your friend for a day. Not that I've done that before. And then our next story here, our next story about video games, is that IGN reports GameStop has announced business updates and it plans to reopen stores and cut executive salaries in response to COVID-19, just when you thought we got away from all the coronavirus news. After initially keeping some stores open in defiance of certain state government orders, the shutdown of all non-essential businesses, GameStop retail locations eventually transitioned to a curbside pickup only model that keeps its employees and customers safe from coronavirus. GameStop CEO George Sherman stated that, quote, since we closed stores to the public on March 22nd through omni-channel fulfillments, we have retained over 90% of our planned sales volume in 2/3 of our stores that are conducting curbside operations. That's actually pretty surprising to hear. It says, in its latest movement, Sherman announced salary reductions for our senior management team and a board of directors, as well as wage rate reductions for some other corporate and field support staff. End quote. GameStop is also offering certain employees an option to work under a half-time, half-pay structure or temporary furlough program. Sherman is taking a temporary base salary reduction of 50%, meaning he's still getting bonuses. Look into that. While CFO Jim Bell and the rest of the executive leadership team will be taking a temporary 30% cut. The board of directors has also reduced cash compensation to directors by 50%. Certain other employees will see their pay temporarily reduced by 10 to 30%. Oh no, Reggie Fils-Aimé. GameStop, as previously mentioned, shut down 1/3 of its stores, with the others adopting a curbside pickup model. The company has now begun the process of opening stores in Italy, Germany, and Austria, while South Carolina and Georgia are preparing a potential reopening in the coming weeks. Australia, on the other hand, has had none of its stores closed, and it's seen strong results continuing, with approximately a 24% comparable store sales for the 9 weeks ended April 4th, 2020. The company as a whole, in the 9 weeks period ended April 4th, has seen its sales decline approximately 23% year over year, which is awful because they've already been declining year over year like crazy. GameStop currently quarters around 5,500 stores across 14 countries, and as of April 4th, it has $772 million in cash and liquidity. So basically, I'm actually a little surprised how well GameStop is still doing, all things considered, during this COVID situation. But they're obviously not doing well. Business is still dropping. It just seems like they were able to, I don't know, I guess stay afloat a little better than some other businesses. But that's what happens when you do the curbside, when you say, hey, employee health and employee well-being, fuck you. Come back to work. This is one of those business models where you say it's safe for the customer and the employee. It's not, but it allows you to keep making money. The big point here is that obviously, Sherman's taking a temporarily base cut reduction of 50%. Base salary reduction here means that they can still make bonus checks and things like that. Although I don't know how the hell anyone at GameStop right now is taking a bonus check or anything like that, because this company isn't doing well enough for anyone to get any kind of incentive other than just their base salary. But nonetheless, that sticks out to me just because that probably means his total income hasn't been reduced by 50%. But on the other hand, they're more than willing to reduce the other workers' wages by 10 to 30%, and those people sure as hell ain't getting bonuses or anything like that. So that sucks even extra dick for them. But yeah, I'm surprised. I mean, I know when all this started really going down, I said GameStop, mark my words, is going to be like the first one to really get fucked over in all this. It seems like they managed to snake by enough to kind of not get as hurt as some other companies did, which is, for better or for worse, good for the people who keep their jobs, bad for a company that practices some bad ethics, some bad business stuff, and kind of deserves to go away. But nonetheless, it looks like they're still kind of in the shitter. They're still dropping year over year, which is no surprise. And this is just more nonsense that's going to keep them afloat for a couple extra days. But I'm telling you, these guys are, we're on the countdown. We're at the point where GameStop shouldn't be around much longer. And they're just hanging on for dear life here. But we'll see what happens. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it'll be like Chuck E. Cheese and it'll just kind of stick around forever, even though everyone thought it was doing bad. But our next story here, our wrap-up story, comes from Windows Central. It is that the Far Cry franchise has been a staple of Ubisoft's for years now, but most fans consider the third entry released in 2012 to be the best. Despite some solid releases since, most agree that the franchise has begun to slowly wane in terms of excitement and badass villainy. However, it seems like Ubisoft is returning to its roots with the next entry, and we may see a familiar villain. According to IGN, the iconic villain Voss may be reprising his role. During a Reddit AMA, Michael Mondo said the following, the voice actor of Voss. He says, "Thank you so much. Voss is my spirit animal." He doesn't sound like that. He says, "Thank you so much. Voss is my spirit animal. Having co-created the character is something that will always be dear to me. I still get recognized as Voss, and I still feel the outpouring of love for that character. Makes me so very happy. Who knows? Maybe I will reprise my role very soon, ? IGN notes that the use of very soon is odd and that it might hint for a direct sequel, so in the vein of Far Cry 3. It'll be interesting to see what where the game takes us this time around. What do you want from Far Cry 6? Let us know in the comments below. That's the part I was supposed to delete because I'm not IGN. All right, so this is an interesting one because Far Cry, obviously, Crytek makes Far Cry. Far Cry 2 is kind of this weird in-between thing that people like a lot more than the first one. And then Far Cry 3 comes out, and Far Cry 3 is really like Far Cry 1. That's where the series kind of comes into, what people know it for. And I admit Far Cry 3 is a fantastic game. It's one of the best late generation games from the 360 era. But then you get Far Cry 4, which is actually my personal favorite Far Cry. I love Far Cry 4, but I know a lot of people are like, it's pretty great, but not quite as great, even though, again, I think it's a better game, but that's because that's a whole different thing we can get into in another episode. And then, they go with the Far Cry Primal, which is the spin-off reusing the same map, and a lot of people are like, meh, and I never played it. I never even played it. I just skipped right over it. I pretend it didn't happen. And then they go, hey, boom, here's Far Cry 5, and everyone's like, whoa, Far Cry 5? You mean there's 5 Far Crys in this one game? And then, no, it's actually about Donald Trump. No, it's not. It was never about Donald Trump. But then Kotaku gets all mad because it's not about Donald Trump, and they wish the game was about their agenda, and they wish that they told the story that they wanted them to, but they actually told their own story, and that made Kotaku mad. So then the internet started saying bad Far Cry 5. But Far Cry 5, actually pretty solid game. As far as gameplay goes, it's just as good as any other Far Cry. But I actually do agree Far Cry 5 was kind of one where it's like, meh. It's kind of where they dropped. A lot of like the latter stuff that happens in the game story-wise is lackluster to just the kind of edge of your seat insanity of Far Cry 3 and 4. So I do understand the whole like the series is waning in terms of relevancy or excitement. I think it'd be a good idea to take Far Cry 6 or whatever your next entry is and say, all right, let's roll it back. Let's go back to something everyone loved to try and reinvigorate this brand, because Far Cry is actually one of Ubisoft's best-selling franchises. This franchise sells absurdly well, so it's probably in their best interest to really cater to this market. That being said, I don't personally love the idea of them returning to Far Cry 3. I don't even remember. It's been so long since I played it. I thought Voss died in that game. Maybe not. So maybe they could do a prequel or something. But the point being, it's like Far Cry 3 was a really good self-contained story. Leave it alone. Don't go back to that. I like that Far Cry 3, or that Far Cry in general, as one of those like, every game is a different story kind of thing. Don't try to retread. Just let it be its thing. Don't become like creatively lazy and just rest on your laurels there, with going back to the same well over and over again. That being said, I think people would be very excited to go back to the Far Cry 3 environment. I think really the only way you could do it would be to make a prequel, but I just don't like the idea of that being Far Cry 6. If it were a spinoff, maybe that'd be better, but let me know what you think about that. I know most people seem to go Far Cry 3 over all the others, so let me know what you think about that. I'm personally just like, go do an original story, go do something we haven't seen before. That's what I like about Far Cry is it's always a different setting. It's always a different villain. So I would be pretty disappointed to see more of the same. But that's going to do it for our news segment. Just for those quick little important enough news stories important enough to make the podcast, but not important enough to warrant their own discussion. We've got 3 of them. The first one being that the Baltimore Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson announced over a Zoom call this past week that he will be on the cover of Madden NFL 21. He added that he is not concerned with the Madden Curse by laughing off the question when asked. For those who don't know, the Madden Curse is that whoever is on the cover of the current year's Madden game always seems to like get injured or hurt or something in the next actual NFL season. So that's just a weird coincidence that's happened one too many times. But Mr. Jackson doesn't seem to give a shit. Our next one here is that Bleeding Edge is about to get its first recently announced additional character, Miko, the dolphin guy, but the new content won't stop there. Developer Ninja Theory has already announced that they are working on another fighter for the online brawler, as well as custom and ranked modes. Finally, another map is being worked on for the game, but unfortunately, no time frame is currently known for any of these additions. Our last one here is that And we're going to end on a good note. Phantasy Star 2 has officially exited its beta form and launched on the Xbox One in an official capacity. The PC version of the game is expected to launch sometime next month in May. And once PC players have full access to the game, crossplay will be enabled, allowing sweaty PC gamers and sweaty Xbox anime dweebs to connect and talk about furries and play Phantasy Star Online 2 together, which is, like I said, a really pretty cool game that's unique for Xbox, that worth taking a look at. Now, before we get into the game releases of this week, I actually wanted to do something a little different and talk about the Xbox Game Pass editions for April, the games coming and leaving this month. So real quick, just because I feel like we never go over this, the games coming to Xbox Game Pass this month for PC and Xbox are as follows: Alvastia Chronicles, Journey to the Savage Planet, The Long Dark, Gotto Roboto, Yakuza Kiwami, Deliver Us to the Moon, Hyperdot, and Levelhead. For PC only, Game Pass subscribers can look forward to Football Manager 2020, Mistover, Alvastia Chronicles, Stranger Things 3, Machinarium, and Gears Tactics, of course, which comes out in just a few days next week. Now, as for Xbox Game Pass games leaving in April on the Xbox and PC side, you've got The Book of Unwritten Tales 2, Guacamelee Super Turbo Championship Edition, which is a great game you should play, MX vs. ATV Reflex, Prey, Samurai Showdown 2, The Banner Saga, Bomber Crew, Braid, Fallout 4, Full Metal Fury, Metal Slug 3, Ruiner, Silence the Whispered World, Smoke and Sacrifice, Wolfenstein The New Order. And on the PC side, you've got PC-only Game Pass games leaving. You've got Fez, Into the Breach, Prey, and Valkyrie Chronicles. So that's going to do it for all of our new Xbox Game Pass games that are coming and leaving. But now, of course, it wouldn't be an Xbox On podcast if we didn't talk about the new games coming to Xbox this week. All right, this week we've got 12 new games coming to Xbox that you can quote-unquote look forward to. Our first game here, and let me tell you all about it, our first game here is called Obey Me. This is some of that kind of kinky gaming shit that you can look forward to. It's out now. Obey Me is a game where you play as, of course, a female, a very strong and independent female, and you know she's a female because despite the fact that she's in a space-looking suit, they put a ponytail sticking out the back because while her body cannot be exposed to the outer space regions beyond, her hair sure as hell can, and it will not be affected because, again, she's a very important and awesome lead female character. Now, she has a gun, but this gun doesn't just shoot bullets, it shoots lasers. But these aren't just any lasers, these are whip lasers. She's able to whip her bad guys. She can say, "Obey me," and whip them with her gun laser. Again, this is a very sexual game. This is a very seductive game. It takes place in a dungeon, but it ain't no dungeon crawler. You can assume what's happening in this dungeon. Obey me, baby. So that's a gross game that's probably still rated E. And then our next game is called Gotto Roboto. This is literally a black and white 8-bit game. There's a frog wearing sunglasses that says achoo, but this stupid frog doesn't realize everything's in black and white. You don't need sunglasses. There's no sunlight, you fucking dumb frog. You stupid dumb amphibian. But nonetheless, there's a little boy who looks like he's from the Earthbound series. He's wearing the Pikmin rocket on his back, and he is just standing on a pile of blocks, presumably 6 feet away from the sneezing frog that says achoo, because he indeed does not want to get outer space coronavirus. So that's on Game Pass, though, so you can play it for free. Next, we got Brutal Rage, which it looks like some kind of N64 beat 'em up, which is actually pretty cool. But nonetheless, you play as Kurt and Mac. These are some bartenders that work in a sleazy sports bar, and they get off work, and Kurt and Mac have to blow off steam because they hate their jobs and they get bad tips, and then they go around punching people in the alleys. And why does it look like an N64 game? Because it's easier to develop a game that looks like shit. But you have abilities in this game. According to the screen, you have abilities like punch, jump, kick, and catch. I assume a catch feature allows you to catch your enemies if they're falling, because while you are a bad bartender, a bad boy who wants to punish bad tippers, you also want to catch them when they're down so that you can remind them that you're still there for them and that they're the assholes, not you. And then we got Guard Duty as our next game. This is basically 8-bit Fable. So you go into a town. It is very British It is very 300 years ago, 100 years ago, however long ago that was. And you go to Sam's previously owned, which I assume is a jewelry store, and you can buy things like swords and guns and level up your character. Now, this is like, imagine a Japanese RPG, but with the aesthetic of like a Western kind of medieval appeal. So it's like medieval times, but the JRPG. So this is like medieval times, the restaurant. You can go, you can get food, you can go and cheer on your knight, but you can also level up, become strong, and attack other knights. You can go to Sam's previously owned. It's like Sam's Club, but everything's previously owned. So you can buy some raw chicken or some bulk earbuds or something, but everything is pre-owned. So the earbuds have wax on them. The chicken's already been eaten. It's disgusting, but that is a guard duty. Our next game is called Help Will Come Tomorrow. It is about a bunch of starving Europeans in the cold winter. Our next game here is called MotoGP 20. It is another motorcycle racing game. I swear there's a new one of these every week. I want to like them. I don't like them, but it is Xbox One X enhanced, so goddamn the Monster Energy decals on these bikes look phenomenal. Our next game here is called Deliver Us to the Moon, more like Deliver Us to Your Mom. Is a spaceman game. There's a spaceman, he's walking on the moon, and there are little craters on the moon. There is a tower, and there is a timer on the spaceman's back that says 2 minutes and 5 seconds. So it pretty much means this guy has a bomb attached to his back and he's about to blow up and die. So that's pretty fucking crazy. But hey, this is a game that is on Game Pass, so go ahead and check it out if you want to play a game about suicide bombers on the moon. Our next game here is called The Path of Light. This is a puzzle game, so it's too much for my tiny brain. Then we've got Sunless Sea, Submarine Edition. This is a submarine game where there's a monster with a lot of teeth. Your objective here is to go under the water and not into the teeth. Can you survive? And then our next game is called War Theater. It is a tactics game. It comes out on Friday, April 24th. If you can wait that long, it's well worth the wait, because despite the fact that the game looks like it's running on iPhone, it is Xbox One X enhanced, which means it will look like an Xbox One X. No, it will look like an iPhone X, because it is enhanced. Our next game here is called Quest Hunter, where you play as a hunter and you are on a quest, but the enemies that are following after you look like zombies, but not like scary zombies. These are like fat, lethargic, shirtless zombies that probably just want to kiss you. They probably don't even want to kill you. So that's pretty weird, because everyone knows zombies are asexual. And then our last one here is called Quern. It is literally just a Star Wars desert planet. There's a little hut here. There's some staircases. I'm pretty sure this is another one of those games where they just forgot to put characters in the game, so you probably just control the camera and that's about it. But if you like playing a game where you control the camera in a part of a Star Wars game, then this is the game for you. It's probably less disappointing than anything Star Wars that EA has put out in recent years. And that's going to do it for our games this week. Remember, as always, Games of Gold. This is your final week of April here. Get Project Cars 2. It's only available through the end of the month. Knights of the Pen and Paper bundle. You got that shit till May 15th, so chill out. You got time. On the 360 side, Fable Anniversary, fuck you. You already missed it. Toy Box Turbos, you got till April 30th, so there's still time. You got 1 week roughly left. Go ahead and download that shit. That's going to do it for our show. Download those games. Hey, on a serious note, I know we have fun here. Please go ahead and rate my show 5 stars on iTunes. I had someone ask me, do you need to rate every episode of the show on iTunes, or do you just rate the show on iTunes? I'm glad you asked. You just got to rate the show, so it's one-time rating only. Just search Xbox on the iTunes store, and then you'll see me there. Also, big issue. I meant to mention this at the top of the show. I should have, because now only like the last 2 people who listen all the way through the end of the show are going to hear it. But I recently discovered this week, maybe I'll mention it again next week, but I recently discovered this week, Xbox On is already a thing. Now, when I came up with the name for this podcast, which I thought was very clever, I Googled it. I looked around, I binged it. I don't use Google, I'm not a heathen. But I looked it up, I tried to see, is there something called Xbox On? Is there another podcast? Is there a YouTuber? Is there a website? Is there anything called Xbox On? Do I have entitlement to this name? And at the time, I thought there wasn't, but guess what? This past week, I found a fucking YouTube page from like the UK or some shit called Xbox On, and guess what? They have a bunch more subscribers and viewers than I do, so I'm the one who looks like the copycat, not them. And I think they've been around longer than I have, but I swear to God, I didn't know about them. But the only thing that gives me any leverage over them is that they are European, so you gotta believe me. I am the original Xbox on, not these fucking fools. Please, if you don't have the time to rate my show 5 stars, go ahead, look these guys up on the internet and downvote all their videos. They're trash. They're probably PS. Hey, you guys want to perpetuate the console wars? These are probably PlayStation players in disguise. And we all, hey, remember how much we hate PlayStation guys, right? We're Xbots. We don't like those guys. So downvote their videos, upvote mine, rate me 5 stars. Yeah, but other than that, you can follow me on Twitter. I've been on Twitter for a while now. I'm at CEC Florida. I am a Chuck E. Cheese enthusiast. I basically go around to Chuck E. Cheese locations across the nation and film their animatronics before the corporate office rips them all out of the restaurants, and we're left with just the dance floors and the puppet characters. So, as always, thank you so much for your time. Eric is going to play us out now with a really nice song. I hear this is a new one. He says he's experimenting with some thrash metal, so I hope you enjoy these new tunes from Mr. Eric. Eric?
All that I'm holding is myself tonight. All that I'm holding is myself tonight. All that I'm holding is myself tonight. All that I'm holding is myself tonight.